think the longer you're, I don't know if you call it pro or at those levels where you devote a good bit of your life to it and you've experienced what it's like to be on sort of, call them elite teams. By then I'd been on Bones Brigade and, you know, brief stint was sort of World, but then Plan B. And then as Plan B was running its course after Mike passed, and it was real clear that they were going to bail out. I was like, gosh, you know, Steve and really it World and Dwindle back then, they're saying, look, you need to do something. And I was like, gosh, I looked up to really Mark Johnson for a long time. And MJ, just not just from the way he skated, which was obviously so special, not just the choices of what he did and how he did them, but his character. And so I'd become such a fan of him, like really. And I'd already, of course, had access. You know, I'd been at World during its heyday. And I met him in San Diego once at a contest. And I remember just meeting him and just being, God, wow, he is that guy, you know? There's always that fear of people respect you and you think, oh crap, once they meet me they realize I'm not. But he was all that and more. And so we maintained contact for a good while. And so now jumping forward when I was basically told, hey, do something. I mean, basically even given a date. And I was like, I wish there was something I could do with Mark. That's how A-Team formed. Finally, Mark just goes, I'm in. And Chet was, and Gershon was right there. And the flip side of that is, I was really based upon the personalities, which brings you back to, you just want to be around people that you like and people that you really respect and admire, so you each have something special to give. A-Team, as far as what it was, to me, it never was anything.
In March of 2000, I went on an Australia trip with Emerica. And I remember being on the trip and everybody that was on the trip, like, you know, had like they were like repping the boards and the stickers and the shirts and their everything from their brands and stuff. And at the time, I just looked at that as like, those dudes are fucking psyched on, you know, these brands they ride for. And I didn't wear A-Team shirts really. I didn't like, I would kind of cover up graphics and just, that was my own personal thing, you know, just like, kind of like, which is stupid to kind of be a bitch about that, I think. But at the same time, like, you like what you like, and if you don't like something, you don't like it. So, and I was like, I want to be super psyched on my shit, you know? Yeah. I was just looking at these graphics, like, which is whatever, like I said, it's fucking stupid to bitch about it, but I was looking at stuff just like, dude, it's gotta, like, it'd be so easy to do something better.
From the very beginning, I don't think anyone liked the name. And to me, it was like a placeholder. And one day, MJ, like, I sensed it because I was the same. I'm thinking, this is like a placeholder. It doesn't have a field for it. And he just was like, Rod, I'm having trouble. I'm like, me too.
You know, it's just a weird call. I'm like, dude, I'm just like I'm not stoked on like the marketing or like the brand image or whatever, you know? Almost like, I like, it wasn't like calling to quit or whatever. It was almost like calling to like throw some ideas at him, you know? Like, just to see like what would happen. Just kind of like, is there anything we could do type thing? And so in April, yeah, so I called him and he goes, oh wow, Chet just quit. Chet Thomas just quit and Gershon just quit. And I was just like, what the fuck? And he was like, yeah, last week, literally, those dudes quit. Yeah, individually, like, this guy's gonna do this, this guy's gonna do this. And I was like, wow. So he was like, your phone call is kind of like, you know, it's not like really out of place, I guess. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, holy shit, because I didn't really know anybody else felt that way.
And I just want you to know, I respect you. I think you have, like all of us, this has become a platform where if you have an idea, run with it. I mean, if you want to do something, just know I'll follow you wherever you go. I mean, as long as it's within, you know, you have open access.
I wasn't over like World Industries or being at that distribution. I was just over the brand. So Rodney was like, yeah, it's probably time to like fold that and try to work on something new. And that's when I was like, yes, like let's do something rad, like just more fun, you know? And this is just me. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. I didn't have any ideas. It was just on the phone call. I was like, dude, we could do something so fun, so easy. Like it would be so easy.
Like he would send, we were in contact a lot. I would go down there a little bit and hang out. And between names and art and people, Mark is just an artist through and through. And he, like a lot of great skaters, he's, you know, once he gets a hold of something, he doesn't let go. And so from really the name to the original look, to the original graphics, to the original, like the feel of it, that was Mark. I had little to nothing to do except for like, wow, I can make that happen, or I love it, or I don't know. You know, I was just a soundboard.
We get off the phone, and then it just kind of like, I think like in a couple of weeks, like had a meeting, and then, you know, whatever. And it kind of snowballed from there. And it was kind of like Rodney was like, well, you know, like, do you have any ideas? And then it's not like I stepped up and said, you know, I want to do the brand, I want to be the creative director, here's the name, here's the graphics. It just kind of happened, you know, or I was like, as me being like the default guy that had some ideas. Very, very, very rough ideas. Yeah, it was weird. Rodney was like, oh, you got an idea? And I was like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, what about this? Blah, 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 blah. You know, and then he kind of was like, well, if you want to, you know, if you want to run with it and see what happens. And then that's how, you know, that's how Enjoi started.
And I remember part of what MJ was doing, there's always a strain of this, but at the time there was a particular thrust of, gosh, we're killing ourselves for the video, and that's in us to do. And all of us complain about it. When I was on Plan B, gosh, I complained about it. I couldn't barely even look at Mike T sometimes. You know, you work so hard on something and you'd be like, you can do better. And I remember just driving back to LA, just like, gosh, I hate this. But the flip side of that is I loved him for it because he brought the best of you. So it's to say that all of us are under pressure to perform, and there is pressure, and it can make what we love what we hate. It's complicated. It was as simple as just enjoy, especially on the backdrop of all this pressure. Go, go, go. And that carried over. I mean, even where I was, the transition, you know, Bones Brigade and World, I couldn't street skate, and there was no more freestyle. And then Mike T put me on Plan B. I wasn't even behind that. I tried to talk him out of it. I'm like, what are you doing putting me on this team of animals? Like, all these guys are so good, Danny. I'm embarrassed. You have footage of me, and we were all watching each other's footage, and I just remember, man, I don't feel right about this. And I think back about that first video from Questionable, like just feeling when my name came on the screen, no one, it was like birds, like tumbleweed type of thing, or crickets chirping. There was no sound. No one cared, and I felt so awkward. I just wanted out of the theater. And I remember the last trick, people clapped, and he just grabbed me. He's like, see, this is your beginning. And then virtual came, and going through, so I had gone through this whole transition of feeling like nothing, I don't belong, into, oh wow, like I'll learn crooked grinds, or I'll learn a few stairs, and oh wow, I can kickflip 8 stairs, like that's a big thing for me. And when we did Secondhand Smoke after he died, that was my goodbye to skating in a way. I was like, well, you know what, I want to go back to freestyle. And the song, the Aerosmith song, is about getting old. And I've had this, and then I opened up with kickflip and some of the bigger tricks that I had done, which is, you know, it was tiny, but for me it was big. And that had been me. And then I'd filmed again, and I was thinking, man, my skating, it kind of sort of feels like me, but I'm learning basics, and it's not an extension of what I feel anymore. And now that I've learned basics, I'd love to just start like hybridizing, like cross-pollinating. And that's where MJ like that was the first time, and connects with enjoi. Mark just goes, Rod, like, because we went skating one night where I skate, and he's like, Rod, just do whatever you want to do. That's what I want you here for. You don't have to like play catch up or learn how to do this or that or feel so out of your element. Just take what you have and run with it. I want you to be happy. That's your contribution. And oh my gosh, to me, I was just, that like lit something in me, and it connected with the name and that early footage of what really turned into Opinion, the Glow video. That was from Mark. And I remember MJ, at least my recollections of this were like, this should be a company where we can just enjoy.
Come on, Cat! Step right up, step right up, step right up. Everyone's a winner, bargains galore. That's right, you too can be the proud owner. The quality goes in before that name goes on. 1/10 of a dollar, 1/10 of a dollar. We got service after the sale. How about perfume? We got perfume. How about an engagement ring? Some for the little lady, some for the little lady, some for the little lady. $3, $4. We got a year-end clearance. We got our white sale.
Me, Mark, and Jerry were all living together at this house called the Tantau House, and we were all hanging out together and skating together, and it was like kind of like the beginning of the whole tilt mode like movement, you know. So I think he really embraced that and really wanted to build a brand around that. He started all this talk about brands and like having a brand with all these big bright colors and everything. Zero was huge back then, and it was just like black and white. So he wanted to have a brand that was all colorful and not about handrails or not about like tricks, you know. I even remember the first tour we went on. We were supposed to do an article and stuff, and Mark didn't even care. He was like, let's just party and have fun. Like, so it wasn't like, he just wanted to go full opposite of what he was used to with like the A-Team and like having to like be one of the best, you know.
I think originally he wanted Louis first because Louis really fit what he wanted to do. Like Louis's whole like personality and persona and his skating and attitude and everything like really fit what Mark was trying to portray, you know. So and we were all just a tight group of friends. Yeah, I don't know, it kind of just slowly became like, it was just like talk, and then like eventually it just became more and more real, you know. And Mark called me one night and just asked me if I would do it, and I said yeah.
I got on enjoi when it first started. I used to get A-Team stuff before that. Back then, I had met all the dudes, you know, like MJ, Jerry, Matt Eversole, and all those guys just through skating around. Out of nowhere, I remember coming home from school, and my dad was like, "Hey, you got a voicemail from somebody named Mark," and I was like, "What? Crazy." So I checked the voicemail, and it was MJ.
It's just like I was given the opportunity to kind of like open my brain and like pull some shit out, like all the way down to like the ad campaign and like different graphics or whatever, and I had no idea what I was doing, which was, looking back, it was like the best position I could be in.
It was a pretty rad time. Like, it was so exciting. Like, a brand, and it was our brand, and like Mark was sitting there like drawing things, and that's what the graphics were going to be, you know. I'd never been around that. I don't think anybody else like from like our little circle had ever been around that, you know.
I feel like it was just this time of like insane like creative potential that I don't think happens that much anymore in skateboarding. You know, you either stick to the formula or.
I mean, like riding for a company like enjoi, like definitely you have a lot of opportunities to like do what you want and have input in the company and stuff. And like even more so with Matt later on, like I think I worked more with Matt than Mark, because Mark was he was so in control and doing his thing that like, you know, we didn't really need to interfere that much. Mark was like really on a roll, just like everything he did I think was rad, and we really liked it, so we just kind of like let him do it.
For the most part, yeah, like I kind of had an idea of like the feel of the brand and what kind of dudes would like go with that. But Jerry and Louis, I'd always kind of go to those dudes and be like, what do you think? So if Jerry and Louis were like thumbs up or thumbs down, that had a huge, that was like a heavy factor, you know, in like these decisions. You know, like the Bobby Puleo thing was like out of left field. Like I got a call from Mark Whiteley, and I guess Bobby knew Mark Whiteley somehow through Slap or SF or something, but Whiteley was like, hey, like what do you think about Bobby Puleo? And I was just like, fucking dude's rad. Or skating's rad, I don't know him. Skating's fucking rad.
Yeah, I got cold called one day. Just telephone call, random. Mark with Jerry on the line. You want to ride for Enjoy? Sure. You see, the thing is that at the time that I got on, the brand was transitioning from like that old like Rodney, Chris Dobstaff, Dave Mayhew sort of mix. Oh, Chris Cole, which is like complete left field thing, you know, the weird like Chris Cole time on Enjoy. And so it was transitioning from like that whole period into like this, the graphics were kind of like really starting to take shape with like Mark's, you know, blue, yellow, and red phase and the organic shapes. And so it was starting to take on this like, you know, real, I don't know, solid feel to it. And so, I don't know, that was part of like the decision. I was like, all right, you know, this is, they have an identity, you know, and they have kind of a cool thing going on. Mark's skating was like unstoppable at the time.
And I vibed well with Puleo. I don't know if anybody else thought he would. I fucking love the dude. I just really, because I respected, I mean, you got to let Bobby do Bobby, you know, and maybe some people just can't fucking do that. He had the thing about Puleo that most people don't have this. Bobby has a fucking well thought out reason for every fucking thing he does. Most fucking people are just tiptoeing through the fucking daisies like, la-di-da-di-da, I don't know, dude, whatever, dude, I don't know, dude. Bobby is the opposite. I would like see what he was saying and I'm like, you know, dude, that actually makes a lot of fucking sense. But I'm still gonna go skate at the schoolyard. You know, he wouldn't skate at schoolyards. I'd be like, damn, dude, I can fucking respect that, but I'm gonna go skate at the schoolyard. Like one of Bobby's things was he didn't want footage in California. Like how fucking gnarly is that? Bobby, you're gonna freeze to death in New York, like come to California and skate. So Bobby would come out for like a month or two or whatever, but we couldn't film him. And he would explain why. Like he would talk to you for an hour about why he did not want to be seen skateboarding at California spots. And I'm just this like little kid going, but dude, like it would look so sick if you did it.
The reason I left the brand was because, yeah, they were filming Bag of Suck. And so I was like, look, my filmer, the guy who I film with is like, needs money. And so there was a struggle there to get a filmer that could be filming all the time on the East Coast. You know, they were like, well, the suits, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, well, that's gonna create a problem. And they were like, well, why don't you come out here and film? And I did go out there. Like I went to San Jose a couple times, but it you know, it just wasn't, it's not my thing. Like then as time progressed, the deadline got closer and closer and we just kind of stalemated and that was that. I wasn't gonna like film some crap, you know, not crap, but you know, I wasn't gonna like, I knew what I could do here and I wanted that instead of like, you know, me skating at some strip mall. You know, in order to film a part, I feel like you have to like be in the environment to really, you know, unearth the gem spots, you know? And so it was like, well, I'm not gonna move out there to get my hand held to like, you know, this thing that Jerry's done some crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not like I could move out there and you know, like they're not going to provide me with a car so I could go out and creep around like, you know, the back alleys of, you know, San Mateo or wherever the hell it is, you know? So I was just like, you know, this is ridiculous. And I was already knee deep in, you know, my own sort of thing here. So I just, you know, that was that.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Yeah, ads. Everybody always brings up ads. Yeah, I mean, it was huge. It was a huge part of the company, you know. Starting with Mark, and then Matt carried the torch, you know, and like he really like excelled at that.
Not a definite plan for the graphics, but I had like an idea in my head of like the general look, like bright colors, you know, very simple graphics, bright colors, like basically same kind of like ethos behind as the ad campaigns, like just self-deprecating, like fun, don't take shit so seriously, you know, because skateboarding, you know, the act of doing the shit is serious enough. So why does your fucking graphics need to be so, like, what do you get out of that?
Yeah, I mean, they were rarely serious, and if they were, then it was sort of like, you know, veiled. It was just like a kind of like an inside joke or something, but it still somehow resonated with people. But yeah, like the ads were such a huge identity, like part of the identity of the company. And yeah, I don't even know how Mark came up with that stuff. I think like, I think he was really heavily influenced by Blind when Blind first started, and like those companies, that kind of like anti-establishment.
Yeah, dude, the graphics were in the beginning, it was just, I mean, it was weird. Like I literally had to learn these computer programs for this brand. So I was learning, you know? So I did my best at the time with like as much experience as I had. And then the ads, yeah, I was like, at the time, if you'd flip through a magazine, it was almost the same thing. Yeah. Every page was almost the same. Guy on a handrail, guy on a handrail, guy on a handrail, guy on a handrail. And you're just like, okay, that's gnarly, that's gnarly, that's gnarly. But it was almost like there wasn't much. It was like guy on a handrail, guy on a ledge, guy on a handrail, guy on a ledge. There was nothing funny. Like it was so fucking serious, you know. So I just had this idea. I'm like, what if we just don't do skate ads at all, you know? Because I mean, shit. Like, how about you get your ad or whatever, and then any kind of skate material can go to other sponsors and editorial for the magazine.
I guess maybe skating called for something like that again, like, you know, like a Blind type company to come along and kind of shake things up and, you know, kind of like, not point fingers, but kind of like be like, hey, like, you know, maybe you shouldn't be that serious, or maybe like, maybe big companies aren't always the way to go, you know. Like enjoi is really good at, like, it was like satire, you know. It was you know, a way to kind of look at what was popular and question that.
In the old fashion of like the first world companies, like just kind of fucking off and talking shit on the industry or whatever, like how whack everything is, and, you know, having fun with graphics that don't make sense, but it's like almost like, look, we can sell anything just because this dude's name's on it or whatever. Like
that was like a big part of the ads. The ads were kind of like, you don't need to have an ad like all in the leap of faith or like kill yourself to, you know, sell skateboards. You can sell skateboards with, you know, humor and imagination, not just like stunts.
I mean, there may have been one like with the skateboard in it, but there was never really any tricks, and that's cool. I like that. It's like, hey, you got to shoot an ad. You hear like dudes that ride for other companies are like, damn, dude, I got to shoot an ad this month, and they're like thinking like, what can I go do? What, like, is there a place I can go skate? I'm gonna have to break myself off. And then for us, it was like, damn, like, how are we gonna shoot this? Am I gonna go like, you know, running through a field naked or like moon a goat?
I had this idea of like, what could you do to get guys psyched on getting you an ad? You know, because I would still have to call people up like, hey, I need an ad. But then when you make that call, it's just like, they were just like, what are we gonna fucking do? You know, like, oh, I guess we're having a pirate party on Friday then. We need an ad. Let's have a party. So, yeah, that was like the best way that I knew how to like make sure that the ads were like fun for everybody to do. Because sometimes like you gotta get a skate trick or whatever for an ad and it's not fun, it sucks.
It's difficult for me, you know, because people see ads as like they're fans of the brand and they see the ads and like they're stoked on whatever that ad is like saying or portraying. But it is true, man, like it's different for me because those ads are really like a scrapbook of my entire life, you know? Like I could look through those things and just like reminisce all day long, you know? I don't need to read them, like the captions don't really mean anything to me, you know? Like, I mean, some of them do, because some of them are little inside jokes as to what was happening, but.
I pulled directly from my own experience in skateboarding, you know? And I just was like, these are the ads that are my favorite ads of all time. And gee, I wonder why. Like, they're fucking awesome. They're, you know, it's like funny shit, subversive, you know, what, like dark humor, like whatever. And I was like, shit, make it like that. Because at the time, people stopped doing that stuff. Nobody was doing it anymore. And I mean, yeah, it was awesome, dude. It worked out. Like those things, like once there was like a solid like look and kind of like vibe, it was, doing ads was my favorite part of all of it.
Big guns, baby. Big guns.
You want the guns?
When MJ left, that was like such a heavy blow, you know? I mean, it was his company, it was his ideas, it was like, he was like the glue that kind of held the whole thing together, you know?
When you start a company, or when you reach any sort of level of seniority, even within, even if it's not yours, you start becoming part of that. And oh, how much is this guy paid, or that guy? And it's complex, because these are your friends, and it's just hard. And I know well what that was like, again, with World. And I remember talking with Mark of, gosh, whatever you do, your skating is first, and let the company structure pick up slack wherever you can, because it can get inside of you and it can poison your skating. Because with enjoi, like, who could Mark give those responsibilities to that thought truly like him, who could execute? And even if they could, how can you trust them? Because that's yours. And I remember getting that for a long time, that sense of weight on him.
It was heavy. Like, I remember talking to Jerry, and it was like, that was it. We were all done. It was hard. And I remember Jerry was like, yeah, I talked to Ed. I'm going to ride for Toy Machine. I talked to Jason Adams, and he was like, yeah, I can get you on Black Label or something. And like, it was crazy, man. We were like right at the brink of like, that was it. Like, just everybody going our separate ways, you know?
Well, obviously it was kind of devastating for everybody. For me personally, it was a real bummer. I was like in shock. When he told me, I was in a lot of shock because I don't think he was really communicating to me that he was unhappy. And so when he told me, I didn't even know how to react. And when I got off the phone, I was like, wow, like, what am I gonna do, you know?
That was, you know, that was like, well, shit, now what? What are we gonna do now? I went and stayed with Mark for a long time when he lived in Costa Mesa. And I don't know if we talked about it, but I was like thinking that like, if he leaves, the brand is done, you know? Because what is Enjoi without Mark? He was doing the graphics, he was the entire aesthetic, you know, sort of architect of the brand. So it's like, well, if Mark isn't there, you know, because it's like, you could have had Enjoi with Rodney and Dave Mayhew and Chris Dobstaff and all those dudes that rode for it, but without Mark there, it would have been basically the A-team, you know? And
well, basically what happened was, like, I had an ongoing ankle injury from, you know, it was like 1995, I think. And I was actually shooting a picture for an A-team ad and rolled my ankle, and that just kind of really pushed me back, you know, and then the whole enjoi thing kind of started, and I kind of went on with it, but like, I just never got back to like, you know, 100%. So basically, I was kind of on the way out. When Mark told me like that he was leaving, I was just like, I'm done, you know. Knowing Mark, and he was really honest with me and stuff, and you know, he was spending a lot of time not skating and doing businessy, you know, graphic kind of stuff. So like, I think he was trying to find a better place for himself.
It was like the end of 2003, pretty much like, you know, 3 full years or something, like right in the beginning of 2004. I think it was just like a culmination of like a lot of different things. I just like, it was a combination of like kind of starting to like party a little too often, you know? Like, it's not like I was partying hard, but it's like I was partying like pretty often. And I was carrying that over into it was like starting to affect my work, you know? And it was starting to affect my perspective on things. Fuck, I wish somebody would have pulled me aside and just like seriously like been like, this is what, you know, this is what's happening. This is how you fix it. I just feel like around that time, like I started looking at everything through this lens of like maybe being hungover or being like, just like, I don't know. It was just a lens of negativity. And I was like starting to like get bummed out on a lot of stuff, but only that I normally shouldn't have been bummed out on, you know? So I was just reacting to a set of situations in a certain way because I think I like was starting to drink a lot more. But at the same time, keep in mind, like, dude, I was 25. Yeah. Like, I was 25. So when I think of myself now at 25, let's just say I don't have a very good opinion of myself at 25. So to me, it's like a no-brainer. It's like, dude, you were a dipshit at 25. Like, you're kind of a dipshit now, so 10 years ago, you're a fucking dipshit.
Brad quit immediately, and I was like, oh, like, you know, what am I gonna do? Should I quit too? And I started kind of looking for other sponsors because I felt like without Mark, you know, how could it possibly work?
I really think what happened in a way was best because I saw the pressure. And look what happened with the skating too. I mean, it was just Skater of the Year, all that, right? Video. and just killing it. And I knew that. I thought, what's going to happen with the company? Well, I've been through enough of that, and I know how that can go. I've been through a lot. And what's most important in the end and through the time, I was like, these guys are my friends, and in the end, what we all share more than anything, the permanence is what is our skating. And it's the friendships that you have. The corporate stuff, it'll come and go, and it'll take care of itself. But what's most important is they go on. And I remember like, all right, look, that's happening, and Mark and I are super close, but I know those dudes, and as cool as they are, and I love the feeling of being with them, I'm not of them. Like that group up there, they're gonna feel awkward with me, and I know. So it was I'm thinking it was definitely within 24 hours. I'm thinking it was within 2 hours.
You know, when I was talking to the general manager and kind of telling him like kind of some of the stuff that was going on, you know, with me or whatever, and then kind of like what I needed to do. And at the time, like, I didn't know what the fuck I needed to do. No, let's just say 0 coping skills. I don't know, I think maybe like the only thing I knew how to do going through like negative situations or going through like a rough patch in my life was to walk away. And I'm not saying it was like a shitty thing to do, and I'm not saying it was a great thing to do. It's just, I think maybe it was the only thing I fucking knew how to do, was just kind of like, like maybe hide or something, you know? Naturally, like I thought, seriously, at first, I was like, oh, like fuck, like if I leave, you know, they'll fold that brand. There was a little period of time where I was like, okay, I don't want to ditch these dudes. Maybe we could like take it and like continue it elsewhere, you know, whatever. But yeah, I just thought that they would just fold the brand or whatever. But when it came down to it, the general manager was like, well, whose hands do you think we should put the brand into? And I was like, well, literally the only person that I know that could even kind of keep it going on that level is Matt Eversole. Like, same fucked up sense of humor, like same like insane loyalty to the skaters, you know. Matt was not the kind of dude who was like a fucking company shill. And because of the way, I mean, I've known the dude forever, so I was like, oh, he gets it. You know, it's one of those things like, he gets it. If it wasn't Matt, like it couldn't happen. It wouldn't have like been able to continue.
But then Matt and Louie kind of convinced me to stay. They like totally were like, we can do this, let's just stay. And I did, and it worked out. It was, you know, it was awesome for a while. Yeah, it was good for a lot of years.
To Mark leaving, I was just like, yeah, it's done, you know? And he was like, well, you should quit. And I'm like, well, I don't have to quit, it's gonna collapse, like, you know? And then he was like, well, I want to start this other brand called Love. And I was like, oh, no, it's a weird name, but, you know, whatever. You know, I was like, basically my attitude was like, if you set it up and you handle it, like, you know, I would do it, I guess. I don't know. But, and then all of a sudden, Jerry and Matt Eversole and Louie were like, yeah, we're going to keep going. And I was like, okay.
I actually heard through the grapevine that he was leaving, and like, you know, I immediately freaked out, and I think I called Mark. You know, the industry was still so new to me, you know what I mean? So I didn't know like who to talk to or like where to go or whatever, you know? But when I talked to Mark, Mark was like, you know, there's some dudes that want to stay and that want to make it work. And he said that he was going to hand it over to Evs. And yeah, when he said that, you know, I was like, okay, you know, I felt really comfortable with that, you know, just because Evs helped Mark a lot with Enjoi, you know, so.
I will say that those 2 years, like, those 2 years in San Jose, like 2000 to 2002, were fucking phenomenal. Just like the group of people, the time period, what was going on, what we were doing, and it's basically man down. That is my favorite. Man down is my favorite enjoy moment. You know, you can just watch that video and you're like, that's my favorite enjoy moment right there. It's just all the right people, the right place, the right time, doing things for what I felt was the right reasons. And that was like the fucking, could quite possibly be like 2 of the best years of my life that I remember, you know what I mean?
What are you looking at, man?
I think you're all fucked in the head. We're 10 hours from the fucking fun park and you want to bail out. Well, I'll tell you something. This is no longer a vacation. It's a quest. It's a quest for fun. I'm going to have fun and you're going to have fun. We're all going to have so much fucking fun we'll need plastic surgery to remove our goddamn smiles. You'll be whistling Symphony Doodah out of your assholes. I gotta be crazy. I'm on a pilgrimage to see a moose. Praise Marty Moose.
Yeah, Bag of Suck came out 2006. We actually didn't start filming for a video, but before Mark quit, we had hired a full-time, I think we got a budget for a full-time filmer when Mark was still there. And that was 2002 or 2003-ish.
Well, the first few years we didn't even like know if a video was really happening. We were just kind of like filming, but then it started to become more and more real. Like Matt was like, we're really making this video, and it got more serious. It got really real in like the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, year and a half, you know, where I think we all kind of understood that, oh, we're making like the enjoy video, you know, so it got serious. You know, we all worked really hard to make the best video we could. You can't just like goof off forever.
And everybody was like focused, you know, we all wanted it. It was like our brand. Everybody was focused on making it happen, you know? So it was rad. Like, if you weren't going out with Kyle filming, you were going out with Matt filming, you know? Like, it was always like somebody was out filming, you know? And it was exciting times, you know?
Bag of Suck was like, you know, for a lot of us, it was kind of like our first real video parts. I mean, for me, it was one of those things where I was like, wow, dude, this is actually going to happen. It's going to be a full-length video. I've never done this before. I mean, you know, like I had small parts and like tilt mode videos and stuff like that, but this was like enjoy video, you know? And we all knew that Jerry was going to have an insane part, so we all wanted to have good footage in it as well, you know?
It would have never, ever gotten made if it wasn't for Kyle, you know? Because everybody was so just like, yeah, we're just making a video, you know? And Kyle was actually the one like, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do that. Like, I really like pushed it forward, you know?
Yeah, I love it, man. It was crazy because we spent like 2 months. Like, I mean, I had pre-edits and stuff and like little rough edits and whatnot. And then we took the whole thing down to LA and like finished it. I spent 2 months there, like living in a hotel room, like a block away from Dwindle, and then being in Dwindle. And that's like all we did for 2 months, like both me and Matt.
Yeah, like if you need a person who can like lead everyone and get everyone together and motivate them. Because I don't know, it's hard for skaters to be motivated sometimes. We're all babies, like we need our babysitter.
I don't think Jerry had really developed into like, you know, because like when you think of Jerry, there was at that point it was like the Osiris Jerry, you know, and then until Bag of Suck came out, that was when you were like, holy crap, Jerry is like a machine, you know?
I mean, like he's like the dude that like went to work. It was just nonstop. Yeah, it's so gnarly. Like I was saying, is like every weekend for like probably that final like 8 months or something. It was like go for broke all weekend and then just totally hurt and sore all week, and then like just saving your energy until the next weekend. Like that was just the cycle we just kept doing. And if he was like felt okay on a weekday, then we would try and go, but it was just like weekend madness.
I think we were all just trying to do our best, you know. I think that was really it. I was just trying to do as much as I possibly could before the deadline. So I don't know, I wasn't expecting anything. No, it was just like, I just wanted the personal satisfaction of filming a video part, you know, like with no other video parts to film for, like just this one. It was cool to just focus all my energy in one project.
It was always pretty fucking awesome filming for, you know, the Bag of Suck video. Like, I feel like I always had been filming no matter what, and then it just happens to be like, hey, you know, like, do you want to do this part? And I'd be like, well, I got enough footage. I've been skating, filming for like the last year. Like, why not? Ended up working out perfectly. Like, no worries about a deadline. Didn't know what I was filming for. Like, a lot of the footage had just been like compiled from different filmers and stuff like that. So I wasn't like where if I didn't land something somewhere, stressed out, wondering if I have to go back, or like I'm never gonna be here again in Australia. Like, fuck, you know. I never really had that stress. So.
Oh yeah, I made the ensign. I made that in my garage the night before, and it was like so bad if you like actually like freeze frame it. There's like the canvas is like all wrinkled in one corner. I was like trying so hard to like make it look right, but it was just like there was so much pressure. You know, I was like under so much pressure to do that trick. You know, that I was just like, whatever. Like, who cares?
Matt's thing was like we didn't want any like computer graphics for the any of the titles and stuff. So we had that frame and we were using that for some of the credit stuff, and Matt was like, oh, like go get the frame and then paint a sign that says the end, and like worked out. I actually have it. You want me to get it? Yeah. It's pretty sick. I kept it. I stole it.
Yeah, I know. Just like looking at the end for like an hour, painting it, just like, oh man, will this be the end?
I want a Sunday kind of love, a love to last past Saturday night, and I'd like to know it's more than love at first sight. And I want a Sunday kind of love. Oh yeah, I want a love that's on the square. Can't seem to find somebody, someone to care.
Faster, Daddy. Faster. Someone's gotta push me and run underneath. You know what I'm saying? Salute.
I love you, and I always will.
I don't remember specifically the date or like the month or anything like that, but I remember when Eversol was like, Jason's leaving, he's going back to Black Label. I was like, this is such a bummer, because I felt like he brought an extra dimension to the team.
I only left because I thought Matt left. And to me, Matt was the lifeline. Matt was the dude that brought me on. Matt was the dude that fought for everybody. Matt was the dude. So when he told me he was leaving, and then it went for a little while, I was literally driving down south to go to the trade show. Lucero calls me. Literally, I'm going down the 5. I'm like going over the grapevine. kid, what are you doing? Like, I'm heading down here. He's like, stop by, we'll go to the bar. You know, and so, and I'm literally like driving down the 5 going like, what am I gonna do? Matt just left. Because to me, if Matt's gone, it's just, I don't even really know what's gonna, like what. That's all I know. It just, and then everything just kind of like happened organically, and then I was already starting to move that way. And then Matt's like, okay, I reworked everything and we can actually, we all have a better deal. And I was just kind of like, shh, I'm already kind of doing this, and when's it gonna happen again? When's it gonna happen again? You know, like, I didn't want to be on that like this. I will admit it kind of ate at me, but I was never planning on ever leaving. I was planning to stay and enjoy until I was done. That was it. But the Matt thing kind of changed everything.
Matt had almost left like probably like 5 times, you know. But when he really did it, like for me personally, I realized that it was my time too. It was kind of like the same thing was happening again, you know, like it was a lot like when Mark left, where like I was just so unsure about who could step in or what could be done, you know, now that Matt, because Matt, you know, Matt was so instrumental in everything from the ads to the product to, you know, like everything. And when he left, it was like, oh, okay, like it really made it like a certainty, you know, that I wasn't gonna stay anymore. It only made sense for me to move on. But that was a scary thing in itself because, you know, I'd ridden for enjoi for so long, like over a decade, and I didn't know what it was like to, I didn't know what like my street value was, you know, like I didn't know what I was worth anymore. I hadn't really been skating that much at the time. So like I didn't know like where I was gonna go. I had no plan. I kind of had to because I had made a choice. So like I couldn't really go back on it. I was just like, all right, like I have to do what I feel is right, kind of, you know, to stay on and still feel kind of like unsure. It would make me feel shitty. So just had to do what made me feel better.
I mean, yeah, dude, over the years we've had a lot of dudes come and go, you know, but the Jerry one was definitely for me the hardest, you know, both personally and like, you know, from like the business side of it, you know. I mean, the business side, like Jerry was the face of the brand, you know, he was like the main dude, you know. Like him leaving, I felt like way more pressure than, you know, that I had to like step up or something, you know. I've known him since he was like 13 or some shit, you know, or 14. Like, we've always been on the same team together, you know. We sat down and had like a couple pretty good conversations about it, and I was just like, dude, Jer, like if you're gonna quit, like let's do a sick ad. Like let's just end it with something rad, you know? Because when me and Jerry, like, it's kind of fitting because it's like the bookends of going back to the ads. Because when Mark left, me and Jerry took over, and we had an ad that was me and Jerry, and it was like me riding my Vespa with no hands, and Jerry holding onto the Vespa, like on his board, like sketching. So it's rad that like in Jerry leaving and me taking over the brand, it's like our last ad, and it's like it's not you, it's me, and we're like having like a romantic dinner, you know.
It was a good send-off, I thought, yeah.
enjoi has proven it's gotten through some rough waters, just based on stuff that is natural. But it's founded on those basic principles of, hey, we love what we do, and there's like a built-in humility amongst its leadership. You know, all those dudes are like, they're down to earth. Like, that goes a long way. Yeah, I think it's going to be around a long time. Yeah.
I think Louis, you know, it took him a minute to get a hold of the brand management and kind of, you know, finding a balance of, you know, being the boss, and, you know, having a relationship with all his friends and stuff.
It's easy for it to kind of, for him to like remember what it was like and then continue from there. So it's not just like some random doofus coming in like, oh, you guys are funny, I get what you do, and like, and then he tries to make some ads, you know, and it's just like, you could probably tell the like, how terrible that would be if someone did that, you know? So you just gotta keep going and doing what you do and see where the fucking party takes you. The party bus ends up, you know?
He's the best team manager you could ask for. He's just, because he's still one of the skaters, you know? He's just a skater, and he's got enjoi's back, he's got all of our backs, and he wants the best for everyone, so he still rips. It's no different having him as the brand manager or as one of the team riders, you know? It's just like having one of the best bosses ever. Lou's the fucking best.
It is weird because it isn't like a job to me, you know? It's like the thing that I love, you know? It's the brand that I've always loved, and it's like a brand that's like part of me. Like I said before, like all the ads, all the videos, they're not like just photos or tricks. They're part of my real life, you know? This is crazy, you know? This shouldn't be me. This should be somebody else, you know? Like, I'm so blessed, you know, to like be able to like be here and still be part of it. I guess turning pro is kind of a big deal. Like, you know, I was pretty stoked on turning pro, but I gotta be honest with you, like it was like a bigger thrill for me to turn Zach pro and to turn Ben pro. Like that meant more to me than me turning pro, you know? I got more of that warm, fuzzy feeling. I'm getting it right now. I'm getting all giddy again, dude.
One thing I think that is rare, I mean, if you look at some of the other companies, that I think it's fairly obvious, but it's best to probably leave them unnamed. Usually when guys bail that were really that center of mass, it changes in character. It just does, and you feel it. And it's not like someone really means or someone's failing. It just happens. And enjoi, because I think that imprint of what MJ brought, but that was also representative of what they all had. They live it. I mean, they live it. Tilt mode, they're going to be doing their thing. And so I think for that reasons and a lot of others, it maintained that integrity consistently. And they meant it. I mean, it's authentic. It's who they are. All those dudes are solid, you know? And Louis has this purity. I think purity is a word that often isn't used because you think, oh, purity, what is that, monastic? No, you just mean someone who skates and holds on to those things that that attract them there from the beginning. And even once they saw a little bit behind the curtain, you know, you get older and you see and you experience it, you think, it still stays magic. And Louis has that, particularly, like that's in his character. He's special.